Welcome to Soundbreaker. On today's episode, we're talking to Chris Walch, she is, the co-founder and CEO of LifeScore Music, and Dani Sawyerr, Chief Executive Officer at LifeScore Music. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for both joining us. I was going to say gentlemen, but no, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for both joining us on Soundbreaker. And for our listeners who are not familiar with you, please introduce yourself. And before we dive into it, Chris, can you give us just a little bit of background, introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Dani.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Bob, and hi to your whole
My
Soundbreaker
pleasure.
community. My name is Chris Walch. I'm the CEO and co-founder of LifeScore. I've been with the company since about 2016, 2017. And our big focus is really on adaptive music, interactive music, and deploying that out to artists, musicians, and right holders.
Amazing. Dani?
Hey Bob, nice to meet
Hello,
you.
sir.
Hey.
Likewise.
So yeah, I'm Dani Sawyerr, previously ex-co-head of A&R at Universal Music Publishing, and now CCO at LifeScore, where I oversee our special project, which I invented, I think about 2 weeks ago, that title,
Amazing.
and
Congrats.
also oversee our artist and brand partnerships and lead on the creative direction.
Great. Chris, we'll start with you, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
absolutely.
If you could take us back a bit in your early days, before college, even I mean, teenage days, how this whole thing, passion for music and
How long have we
tech
got?
emerged, and what really inspired you to kind of carve your own path or your career towards that direction? Music, tech, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. What kind of gave you that influence, that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. My past career prior to joining LifeScore was not necessarily the most. It wasn't on the creative track. I was much more on a different track. So I worked as a finance lawyer for quite a long time at Latham. For me, it was great work, great, super talented people, but I always had a different kind of drive and calling for. I wanted to do something more impactful. I wanted feel like you leave the world little bit of a better place, and that there's like a long lasting impact. And I was just searching for that and for a purpose of it. So I left the firm really with no job. I bought a trailer, traveled for 6 months to every ski town I wanted to live in. I'm a big skier, so that was like a big thing for me. And I found myself like meeting with a lot of creative people, a lot of creatives, entrepreneurs, anyone that was creating. I was really drawn to. I was drawn to their energy. I was drawn to what they were doing. And that's something that I really, really wanted to be a part of, and the world I wanted to be a part of. And so when I moved to where I am now, which is in Bozeman, Montana, that was about 2015, I went to tons of conferences where there were entrepreneurs. And that's where I met like some of our co-founders, our original co-founders. One of them is Tom Gruber, and he's actually the co-inventor of Siri. So he's got like a little celebrity around him. And so we met, and I met one of our original co-founders, Philip Shepard. He was a composer, and he was very passionate about what he does and music. And I grew up not as a huge musical background as some of the others on the team. I was in choir, but I was not a professional musician, but I loved the passion that I saw from when he was presenting about what he did. So I started working with him. I kind of just went up to him and I was like, you seem really into what you do. And I'm really about meeting people that are passionate about what they do and creating things and bringing things into the world. And so we started working together. I was kind of managing sort of the work for him, and we did film and video game scores. And that's actually where we met Mary Lockwood, who's now our chief audio officer. She works at Quantic Dream. And we would record, video game scores, film scores, recording them in places like Abbey Road, Air Studios. And so for me, that was like my first like foyer into the really professional music realm. And I loved it. I fell in love with it. It's like, I decided like, this is exactly where I want to be. So when I was first with the company, I was the COO. And that was kind of the start of like our building our team. So there were about 4 of us to start. Mary was the next hire. This is about 2016. And so that's kind of how I got into the company. I'll give a little pause there before I kind of dive too far, but happy to talk more about the company's journey if you'd like.
Yes, we will. We'll get back to it. But it's interesting. So pretty much, basically, this is what started your journey with LifeScore Limited. Through after you finished Latham and Watkins, You went on a tour and all these conventions and summits and conferences you went to, and you started meeting creative people, and that's where really it led your involvement in LifeScore
Yeah.
Limited.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's the four of us co-founders. Yeah.
Dani? Yes, 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 absolutely amazing. Dani, similar question. What really, obviously, you were an A&R. Probably you were influenced in earlier days. This is something I want to do. To be an A&R, you have to been, how should I say, been kind of something that you wanted in your earlier days, and it led to your job at Universal Music Publishing and all of that.
Yeah, you know what? I think, funnily enough, I think it's the same reason why I moved into tech as to why I wanted to be in the music industry, and that's to be inspired. It's like searching for that magic, which you got when you saw the music video of your favorite artist, like on MTV, or when you went to a live show and seeing what these artists and producers and writers were doing, and that for me as a kid, I guess, growing up around all of our favorite artists and
Hmm.
experiencing those songs, those records, the outfits, the interviews, all that stuff. That was that magic, I think, which is what got me into wanting to be in the music industry. Like my idols, Michael Jackson, all of the usual, all of our favorites. I guess that's down to wanting to be inspired and meeting emerging artists as I got older and as I became an A&R was equally as inspiring because you're working with really interesting people who have.
Well, before Universal, were you at Vice magazine also? Is that what really
Yeah, so I
kind of
was doing
triggered
some.
this whole journey?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, like lots of people. I think I was thinking about becoming a teacher
Uh-huh.
initially. So I did a whole run of teaching gigs and taught abroad for a while. And I studied English language at university, so creative writing was always quite a natural fit for me, even though I wasn't the
Yeah.
best at it, I would say. But that passion for music and naturally studying creative writing led me into blogging and into just finding artists when I was at uni
Hmm.
who I loved and just wanting to find a space for them. There was no agenda. It wasn't like I want to be an A&R. It was more like this music's great. I love it. How can I share that with other people? And that led to me writing my own blog and then working for Vice magazine and various other magazines. And then after that, joining Universal Publishing, cutting a long story short. But yeah, I think, it's the same reason that feeling, that magic, which tech can offer creators and offer me as an executive in the same way the music industry did 15 years ago. So that's what led me to LifeScore at the start of this year.
Amazing. Chris, what sparked your innovative projects like Artificial Next and work with Bentley Motors also?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are such really cool projects. So I kind of mentioned like we would record in Abbey Road Studios for kind of the projects we're doing in the past. So when we first kind of started LifeScore,
Hmm.
we applied for Abbey Road's. They have an incubator program for music tech companies, which is actually really great. And so we met several companies through there, and one of them was Bentley. When we first started the company, our focus was really on adaptive music, music that could change in real time based on live data inputs, environmental inputs, user inputs. And so that was kind of really where we focused on. We've since expanded or sort of not changed direction entirely, but expanded what our tech could do. And so we've branched that out. But back then, that was our big focus. And so when we met with Bentley, they're just like a hallmark brand, right, in the UK, and their focus really being on custom, bespoke products for their consumers and how can they elevate that experience for them. And so music is always going to be a way where you can elevate an experience, where you can really bring something to life. And so they wanted to do something. When they saw our demos, they were like, well, can you soundtrack one of our drivers' drives or one of our consumers' drives? And so that was really one of our first projects of taking what was an iPhone demo and putting it into an actual production car with
Hmm.
a human being driving this
Hmm.
and it being like on a road. And so we started from not from scratch, but basically we would map out like what's your ideal journey. We would then the composers would kind of work with the tech team and saying, okay, this is what the data was doing from the car. So we were pulling real data from the car's CAN bus in real time, and we would take that entire log. I mean, there's like 200 data points, and Tom and I would like sit there and read the data points and then normalize them and do all this crazy stuff. So in the beginning, there were 5 of us doing everything. And so we were normalizing data. We were having the composer team watch videos when we were filming, like in a car, and they would write their golden scores. And so it was this whole really, really creative process to do something that's never been done before. So that's what we were able to do for Bentley. After a few months of R&D and testing and development, we created a prototype for them with several different scenarios where you would get into the car, you would select your scenario. It was like energizing, calm, etc. And you would drive. And for as long as you drove, the music would change depending on what you did, whether it was like accelerating, some slowing down, or turning left or right. The music would change in real time. And so that was one of our first like live projects. And that actually is how we got into Artificial Next. Again, the reason for doing it and like the enticement for doing it is how could we have people really feel engaged with the music and not just kind of a consumer or consuming it, but how could they be part of the co-creative process of it? And so when we were speaking,
when did you do? Not to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Sorry. When did what year did you do the Bentley thing? The project
that was in, I want to say it was in 2019, around there. I want to say that was in 2019.
You guys were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, we were way ahead of the curve.
Yes.
So that was in 2019.
Amazing. That's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it was
on.
back in the day.
I just wanted to know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was 2019. And so once that project came out, and that was something that was a little bit public, Bentley did a little film around it. It kind of went out there separately. Like we had been talking to Twitch. I'm one of those people who I will do anything. It does not matter. I will find a way. Through hell or high water, I will find a way. And so Philip at the time had worked on a video game called Detroit Become Human, the same one that our Mary Lockwood, our chief audio officer, worked on. And it was getting a lot of traction in the internets, et cetera. So especially on Twitch. And we were like, Twitch is where it's going to be. Twitch has a lot of live streaming. People are creating and sharing what they're doing. Like, this is a thing we should definitely be into. And so I just like cold emailed the CEO of Twitch. And I just like tried 10 different email addresses and hoped one of them would work. And within, I don't even know, an hour, he wrote me back saying, we would love to have Philip play the Detroit Become Human in studio in San Francisco. And I was like, okay, you're going to go there, but you're also going to pitch LifeScore. And so that's how that happened. So once the Bentley thing came out and we already had this like back connection, which was a little bit separate from the company, they were having a live TV show. It was Emmy award-winning TV show produced by Bernie Sue. He's a great live creator. And they had 24 shows that were going to run for 2 hours long with a live chat that could change the show's narrative. Like, did you want to kill someone? Did you want to do X, Y, and Z? So to be able to soundtrack a show for 2 hours for 24 hours, while the storyline could change, was going to be like a pretty difficult challenge for them. And so that's where we came in and we said, well, we could actually soundtrack the whole 2 hours for you. What we did was we would read the chat in real time. So we read the chat in real time. The music would change based on the sentiment of the crowd. So if the crowd was like, really hated this guy and they were like, they voted to kill him, and he was like, this guy's going to die. So people would write angry things in the chat. And so the music then would read that, or not the music, the tech would read that. And then we would change the music to say like mysterious or dark or etc. And then if folks got really excited because someone fell in love, then the music would change to like a happy scenario. So the music was constantly different based on whoever was watching the show at that time. So they would do reruns, and that soundtrack would again be different based on whoever was watching the show and their reaction at the time. Most of the music, we composed all of the music for that show. So it was coherent. It was musically beautiful, but it was the first time ever that a audience could change the musical score of a show in real time and have full control over it. The show actually, we won a Webby actually for that one. So we were pretty stoked on that deployment. It was a really, really cool experience. Those were great deployments of like adaptive music, definitely for us. Some of our first 2 projects out the gate.
Amazing. So adaptive music based on the situation or based on the scenario.
Yeah,
and the
and that
music
one
just
was
changes. I
in
mean, now is
2020 during COVID. So we did the whole thing remote.
a lot of the video game companies using that technology, correct? Or
So
that
video
kind
game,
of approach?
yeah, so they use something similar. They use interactive music. That's completely Mary's background. She's like a 10-year veteran of that. So the ideas of like, yeah, interactive music building is definitely some of the foundationals or the architecture of how we're thinking in our minds of how we're building our, long adaptive versions. But, and, we'll get into this as the story goes, and Dani will share quite a bit about it too. It's since being just focused on adaptive, we've now expanded what we do to be able to allow not just our music to be adaptive or to have different
Hmm.
durations, creations, variations, edit, but now our tech is able to take original recorded music, someone else's music, not just music that we made, and allow that to have many different outputs. And so we're really excited about that shift in our technology and that sort of evolution of where we're going.
Interesting. Very amazing. Definitely ahead of the curve. And definitely, I see this is one of the things. I mean, that goes to everybody, our listeners, to Danny and Chris here. This is where the music, the consumption and the music of consuming content, I think the near future that I don't know, should I say the near future, the future? That's where music consumption gonna be part of that adaptive kind of music, being
Yeah,
interactive. They call it immersion also,
yeah.
experiential, yeah, all of that I think coming together. And I would say, I don't know, 3 5 years from now, either streaming platforms gonna have to change, or there'll be new platforms,
Yeah.
and that's the way I think music streaming will be.
It's
My
really exciting, yeah. And I think I said it to Chris the other day. It's like seeing
yeah.
music in 3D. Like
Hmm.
why can't you be inside of a song that's kind of wrapped around you, be it a song that changes when you're shopping or when you're cooking a certain meal. And in relation to fans, it's an artist. It's why can't the fans be inside of that moment? Like, why can't they be behind the curtain? And that is what excites me about adaptive music. It's like just pulling away the curtain and allowing fans and creators to like meet together
Yes.
in this like new place.
Hmm. Would you say that Roblox were the initiator of such, not the music where it changes, but at least the whole scenario of that, metaverse, that kind of mixed reality that allows such technology like you guys created be part of
Yeah,
that? Because of the situation always changes as you go from one area to another when you're playing Roblox. I seen it, and
yeah,
I'm like, and
yeah. I mean, I think the beautiful thing about Roblox and about the gaming industry generally is that it's fun and it's enjoyable. It's like it's an experience which people want to share in together. You kind of go on Roblox together and you play a game together. And you create something together, and that's and the music industry can learn a lot from that because
well,
that
it's no, I feel like the gaming industry is way ahead of the music, and the music never bothered to catch up with it. I mean, now I think they have to, because that's where the technology of consuming content gonna be, that direction.
yeah, and that's what fans want. I believe is that they want to play with music, they want to play with the artists, and I think it's
Yes,
more important now because it's so much harder for artists to deepen those relationships with fans because of numerous issues. But that is why these tools I think will help bridge the
yes,
gap, and it's more
correct.
than ever.
Yes, yes, because a lot of these fans, they don't own these fans. Social media owns them, Instagram owns them, Facebook owns them, and they say, what if these somebody has 1 million or 2 million followers? It's gone. They're gone.
Yeah,
How can we reach these fans? There's no way
Right.
to interact with them. And something like this will bring the future of social media, the future of interacting and fans being involved with the artist, and the consumer, or whoever consumed the music, with fans or just regular average Joe, whoever, being part of it, that
yeah.
experience. Yes,
Yeah. And
yes,
we mentioned, well, I mentioned special projects earlier, and I think that that's exactly what that should be, or what those projects should be. Projects
yeah,
which marry innovative tech, our tech, but inside spaces that work for talent. So it's kind of that spot in the middle where you have innovation and great technology, but which makes sense for artists. And I think those projects need to take risk ultimately, and they need to be daring and challenging, but there has to be a tangible reason why we're doing these projects. And I think that's also really exciting on both sides. I guess it's fine. It's magic. It's back to that thing. It's that magic again. Like these aren't just partnerships. This is like an experience. And I think it's that's how I would frame it. It's like allowing more artists, lowering the barrier to entry, allowing more artists to engage their fans in these kind of magical ways.
Yes, I 100% agree. Both on point, actually, definitely. I get fascinated in such conversations in an interview, and I just forget about the whole interview and I just focus on it. I'm so taken by it, and really am, honestly. And so we have, you guys have LifeScore Limited or music, and then you have also the what we talked about, the artificial next, correct? Is that the technology? Artificial next, is that what it's called?
Oh no,
That
Artificial Next
creates
was
the adaptive music
that was the name of the
of the
show, the
project?
Twitch show. Yeah, that was the name of the show on
Oh,
Twitch that we did. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Okay. So
Where?
basically all this technology, it's
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
Too much tech.
no. I mean, LiveScore, it blends technology and music. And that's what makes it interesting. I mean, such a way of approaching it. It empowers artists to be more involved, as Danny just said, and to be part of it, and also the fans, to kind of in the co-creation and monetization altogether.
Yeah, I think I'm really inspired by how the Asian market, the Asian music market, the big companies out there, how they engage their fans, because there's this like it's very playful, and you have companies like Mod House who are giving ownership to the fans, and this is a whole new way, at least in the West, a whole new way of approaching record labels and publishing companies, and it's feeding the fandom, and I think there's a reason why the fandom, and it might be partly cultural as well, but I think there's an industry-led reason why some of these fandoms are so, intense in the Asian music markets. And I think again, we should be learning in the West. We should be learning from that, and yeah, it's just again finding more ways for artists and fans to come together.
Not to take the light away from Chris, but Danny, you were involved also in talent development, like
Yeah,
Dua Lipa, Dermot Kennedy.
yeah.
And how did that influence your approach to artist partnerships?
Yes, I think there's a big part of artist development, and that's coming at it from not just A&R, but management, or even just being
Yes.
a friend of an artist or a family member of an artist. There's like there's an emotional human side, that's very important, and that drives the artist's creativity, and that comes from them, but also it comes from their support network. And I think when working with creators, with talent, that's so important to be aware of those things, with how you communicate the project, communicate what's going to motivate the creator, what's going to demotivate them. How are you talking? Because communication is so important, right? In every industry, but the music industry,
Correct. Yes.
crucial. How you communicate with artists, how you present your ideas, and in A&R and in development generally, I think that's a fundamental part of doing a good job, and just talking and listening. Actually, it's like, okay, what do you need? What hasn't worked here? What are the issues with this release or this session that's just happened? I think being a good listener is maybe not really spoken. It's not really mentioned enough, I don't think, in development. I think regarding what we do at LifeScore, it's even more important because of all of the
Yeah.
noise around, kind of training and, the potential for AI to devalue human creativity. All these things make it even more important to communicate in the right way. So I think the development side has definitely, for me, shined a light or helped me in this role to speak clearer, from the right viewpoint when talking with talent.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Chris, uh, for our viewers and listeners on Soundbreaker, I would like you, if possible, to break down the concept behind LifeScore, because I'm taken by it, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners on Soundbreaker, once they see this episode, they really want to know more and more about it, and what does it stand for, and how does it? Well, we talk about the empowerment, but I just needed to hear from you the whole concept behind LifeScores.
Yeah, sure. So I think like our moral ground or where we kind of stand, and I wanted to touch on this, like exactly why we brought Dani in, and so I'll touch on that later. But we really stand for how can we most answer the hardest questions or most benefit artists and rights holders, and how can we provide them with the ability to expand what they do, and that's like our biggest drive. So that's through our tech, that's what we enable to do. So our focus today is on helping them take original content of theirs or work with other original content and be able to expand that into many, many types of different outputs. And in doing so, we're hoping to be able to save them time, give them more ways to monetize, give them more ways to co-create and engage with their fans and audiences. And I think all of that combined will help them on their journey as a creator. And I think that's really what we stand for. And we think of technology as something that will augment them, that will help them, and not something that is going to detract and take away from them. And so that's very from like a high level moral point of view. That's what we do. But if you want me to break it down more from like a
If Dani
technical
was,
point of view, I can also do
yes,
that.
yes, would love,
Yeah.
yes, I would love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, if
So
possible.
absolutely. So we work with original stems. We work with original materials. And so once those are, we're going to analyze them from our technical point of view, and we will segment them and create them into, let's call them Lego blocks, building blocks. And once they're in those blocks, then they will enter like the technology, and from there we can manipulate them and we can change them and put them into different scenarios and ways, whether we're applying effects or whether we're shifting them into new genres or different types of variations. And so that's what happens within the technology. From there, we can create lots of different outputs. Again, leaning back on our original tech of adaptive music, of being able to change in real time, you need to be able to do that quickly, and you need to be able to do that over long periods of time. So that's what enables the technology to do that. So we work in vertical and horizontal composition in order to do that. And once our outputs can either be short form in 30 seconds or less, long form, we've done albums that have lasted 8 hours for some of the artists, and they can even be live fan UGC, live fan user generated remixes. We were the engine behind Sony's David Gilmour and the Orb, where fans could generate their own remixes in real time. By working with us, we're able to do all of these things with the artists and their work and help them meet their fans in other ways.
Amazing. I mean, wow, live score music is really the future. You guys on it.
Yeah. I want to like just
I'm
kind of
impressed, I have to
touch
say.
back. I want to touch back on one point, and we weren't really,
Please.
for us, in the way we look at technology, we want to be something that we work together with the industry, we work together with artists. Like, we think technology such as ours is very powerful. And if you just lob technology kind of over a wall and sort of see what happens, we don't think that's totally responsible. So, with bringing Dani in, someone with deep industry expertise, with deep connections into artists and musicians and how they work and how they want to work, I think it's really important and responsible for us to do that and to have that voice, understanding like what are artists' biggest needs, what are their biggest problems, how can we help them solve those things, and not just be a technology that, disruption is such a fun word and people love to throw it around. But I think if you are going to be a disruptor, you really have sort of like a moral conscience to think about, who is most positively, but also who's like most negatively affected by your tech. And that's where I think we're going to be a little bit different than some of the other companies, and where we're really aware of how powerful our technology is. And we want it to be, utilized in a way that's responsible. And so, we're fairly trained, which means we don't scrape the world's data of music. We don't take people's music and create outputs from that and try to commercialize it. We're super ethical about it. And, bringing Dani in was like a really important part of, that was missing on our team, and making sure we had that industry connection and that industry voice and that artists, and that stood for and represented the artists and what they wanted.
You guys work directly with artists? You work with major labels, studios?
Yeah.
Go for it, Dani.
Independent artists?
Yeah. So we collaborate with rights holders, with brands, with individual creators. I mean, it's quite broad. Currently we're working on a really exciting. I can't give too much away, but a really exciting
It's okay.
user-generated live fan remix project for I guess a trending new artist, and we're building a really cool experience for him, which will allow his fans to co-create with him in real time, and that's
Unbelievable.
going to be, with how we're building this, going to be the first of its kind. So we're really excited about that. So that should be coming before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Uh, Danny, what's some of the, oh, for both of you actually, Daniel's thought, what is some of the impactful collaborations or projects that you guys both seen or overseen in LifeScore music? That, you
Yeah,
know, some of them.
yeah. I mean, we did a project with artist called the Shredders. I guess they're an artist. They're a super group, I suppose you call them. I saw metal musicians, and we created 6,666 versions of one of the albums, and that was just a fantastic, such a unique project to be involved in. And they minted the songs on OpenSea, and again, it was just a really innovative way to engage a fan base.
Hmm.
And it was cool seeing our tech used in a way which, I'm trying to remember, Chris, how many genres we made for them.
We had
I think it
eight
was
genres. Yeah, we took heavy metal and brought
how
it
many?
all the way. We took heavy metal and brought it to, I think hip hop was one of ours, and ambient, and yeah, we genre stretched that thing really really far. So it was a super fun project.
Yeah, just really just different. And it's also it's lovely working with artists who have that ambition
Yeah.
to take a risk, and but it's not really risk taking. It is the future now. I think you'll see more artists doing these kinds of projects, and I guess tapping into different. Well, I guess the listener now listens to everything, right? The listener listens to literally everything, whereas beforehand it was like maybe listen to a few different genres. But now,
Hmm.
particularly younger listeners are listening to metal, to hip hop, to folk, to classical music. I think it makes a lot of sense as well to
Hmm.
have music open in all these different ways. So that was really cool. Chris, I don't know if you want to speak about something else.
Yeah, so we work with all of the major labels. We have a good relationship with all of them. Warner actually sits on our cap table.
Yes.
And some of the cool projects we've done. And I kind of want to like give some distinct projects that artists, when they listen to this, can be like, oh, I should be doing that with this tech. So we worked with this incredible artist, Sleeping at Last. He's one of the most synced artists because he's on Grey's Anatomy, so that helps him with the sync. But he's also just like an incredible
Hmm.
talent with great albums. And we took one of his really well received albums called Atlas, and we expanded that into an 8 hour sleep catalog. And that album streamed it has millions and millions of streams, and the artist had to do almost very very minimal amount of work to be able to produce that album, and his fans absolutely loved it because they were asking for something like that, right? He was responding to a need that his consumers had, so that his fans had, and that I thought was like really beautiful, that our tech could help them meet that need. They're like, we just love your album, we wish we could listen to it all night. And for us to be able to like work with someone and give that to them, and at the same time give them like an entire form of monetization that they didn't have before based on like original assets they had. So now you're just like, you're capitalizing on work that you've done before, that you spent such a huge amount of time and creativity and like mental creativity creating it. And how can you help them do more with it for themselves and their fans? I think that's really beautiful. So that's a really great use case that I love to talk about. The other one we've worked with Warner is we've taken a bunch of their beautiful, like really, really cool old Latin catalog that just is nostalgic,
Hmm.
that people are like, oh, I remember when my mom, was cooking to this when I was younger. And our engineering team has several like Latino members. And so when they were hearing some of these remixes, they were like, this is incredible. So we took those remixes, not those, we took those original tracks that were Latin and we put them into what was trending today, which was lo-fi. And so taking something that was like beautiful and nostalgic and bringing it and trending it to like new audiences, or audiences that may not have heard it because it was older, but bringing it to light for them. Again, I think that those are such great stories of taking wonderful creative works and engaging new audiences and breathing it new life, and also giving new like monetary value to it. So these are like really, direct use cases that I think are wonderful.
Just to add
Interesting.
on to that, Bob, if we have
Please.
time,
Yes, yes.
we've spoken obviously with lots of artists, and just to get feedback and to do our own research. And there's a big pain point which is centered around content, basically, and creators, the artists needing more content, more audio content for the various social media channels. And with our tech, we can help artists to take an existing piece of music but repurpose it in so many different ways for different purposes. So that's really saving creators time, and also it's presenting these unforeseen mixes which they wouldn't have created before. Which who knows what version of their single will be the one which resonates the most. So whether it's a extended version or a short mix or a different arrangement of the original track, we hope that the tech will allow more creators, more connections with fans, and then more money, more revenue, at the end of it.
Amazing. Just a quick question. TikTok came in and took the world by storm. Young, old, kids, everybody. Doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody came when TikTok came in. It gained so much following, so much notoriety. It became the platform to be on. Whether you want to promote music, just the whole experience, quick short form music and viral videos, silly videos. It broke new artists, new sounds, and all of that, and new type of music. Overnight, I wouldn't say, you know what? Yes, overnight artists were born, and new music were born, new dances were born. Now, obviously, the world is ready for something new. Would you guys say that LifeScore is actually LifeScore music is the new wave consume music? Are you guys, does some of the DSPs feels that you guys the new threat that's gonna pretty much dictate the future of music consumption and where artists and music and fans and users gonna go to?
Bob, firstly, you're hired. You're
Yeah.
hired. You're on the team.
Honestly,
You've made it.
let me tell you, I'm a big advocate of technology and AI, and I know I missed on the first one when we went. I've been in the record business for 30 years. Okay, everybody knows I'm old now. So I had a record label, I'm a distributor, and all of that. So I've been through the cassettes, the vinyl days, the DJ days, and all of this, and selling and all of. And when it went to digital, I kind of was somebody threw a curveball at me. I didn't know what to do.
Mm.
It took me a minute to adjust. Be honest with you, yes, I wasn't ready, and I ignored it. Then I got involved. I was forced to get involved in it if I want to continue and make money and be in the business that I love and been in it all my life. So I feel now the transition is happening. Not yet happening, but it is happening at a different speed, but a little more complex. You really got to be technically inclined to be involved in it now. You cannot just say I'm in the music business. It's the music tech. Tech became part of it, and the music business cannot be behind anymore. There's always a pushback, but not anymore because it's technology and it's evolving so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've been talking about it on my shows, on my other podcasts, Entrepreneurs in Tech and Soundbreaker. And I talk to a lot of people. I do interview a lot of people, but it's always leading to what you guys doing, what LifeScore Music doing. Honestly, I mean, I wish I met you guys years ago and I would have been part of it. I would definitely invested and got involved because LifeScore Music to me is the future of consuming music.
Well, that's in my ear now, Bob. So don't you forget it. I'm going to call you in several months. But yeah, I mean, I think, and Dani's got his ear much closer to the ground on this than I do. When you think about the spectrum, and we've talked about this quite a bit, of how do people consume music today? And again, I want to focus on the word consume because we want to change that a little bit. So right now, you're either going to be passively getting it on DSP on one end of the spectrum, and on the other polar end, you're going to a live concert and you're in it, you're interactive. So when you think that people are willing to do on both ends of that spectrum, that means there is a huge middle ground that has not yet been thought about that we think we're going to be really, really prime for, and that we are really going to do well for. And that means, you're not getting everything here at Passive Consumption, and it's really hard to get to a concert all the time. So how can we bring that together? And Dani talked about this. It's like, how do we bring the fan and the artist closer together in a world where engagement is something we do need, in this disconnected world? How can we do that? And I think that's something we are doing with our tech. And we like to think of it more as co-creation not so much consumption. Like we want to try to like change that word a little bit. Maybe we're not just consuming music anymore, right? Maybe like Dani said, we're living in a 3D world. We're in it. So I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think that is the future. We want to be in the future. We were, ahead
It
of our
is.
time,
It
I think,
is.
with adaptive music. And I think we're right where we need to be right now. And I think we have the best team
Yes.
in place to also do it.
You guys, the new $100 billion company in the music industry. Definitely you are. You're no longer a unicorn. Unicorn is the past. You guys are $100 billion company. Amazing. A question to both of you, please, for our audience and listeners and viewers who's going to watch this episode and be extremely inspired by your both journeys and what you guys done and the company that you guys involved with, LifeScore Music. What advice you give someone just starting in the music business and looking to make a significant impact like you both did? We'll start with Chris, and the same question to you, Dani, after. Would you want to answer?
What I have learned in the music industry is networking and getting to know people is the most important thing. And I think don't be afraid to tell someone what your talent is and what you're good at and what you're inspired by. I think that this is a business where it's a people business, like first and foremost. Like sure, it's music tech,
Yes.
but it is a people business just like anything else. And so don't be afraid to reach out to us. Happily reach out to us, get to know us. I'm happy to like if make introductions as well too. So I think that if, like I said, if you're not shy, that's my best advice.
And if somebody want to reach out to you, how would they reach out to you or a company? If you
Yeah,
want to
perfect. They
announce
can
it
go straight to the
through
website.
LinkedIn, through
There's
please.
Yeah, I'm on my LinkedIn, so feel free to find me, Chris Walch. But if you want to reach the company and kind of get to everyone on the team, right now the emails go to all of us. Just go to our contact form on the website and fill that out. If you're interested in being one of the testers of our tech, we are opening that up now to the public later this year. So sign up on our website under the Workbench link, and you can sign up to be one of our early testers for the professional version of our tech.
Amazing. Dani, what advice you have for people that who
Yeah,
started in the music? Yes, yes, yeah.
yeah. I think for me, one piece of advice I'd give people listening is take ownership over your space, and by
Yes.
that I mean lean into what you love and show the world that. And that might be a certain genre of music. It might be, I don't know, a certain type of tech you're into, music tech, whatever it is.
Hmm.
I lean into that and show the world that. Like with my blog, I was just putting on pop music because I love pop music, right? That was my thing, and I kind of tried to own my space, and it was just a little blog. But in the end, it ended up with me getting the job at like a major company. I'd never have seen that, would have foreseen it, but that's where it led. And so I think have confidence in what you're into and show the world that. Be a self-starter. So don't wait for opportunities to come to you. Like go and get them, go and find them, go and start something, do something. That's always the best calling card, I think, when you've already got energy and momentum. It could be like really small. It could be, what they say, like a lemonade stand, and then or like innocent smoothies who started at festivals and now look at where they are. So I think it's start small, take ownership, be confident, and be passionate.
Be passionate. Absolutely, yes. Before we wrap it up, anything you guys want to mention that's something, anything to be on the lookout for in the next month or two or this year for our listeners, viewers, fans, artists, record labels, executives, whoever's going to be watching this episode, they say, oh, wow, I heard it on Soundbreak and it's coming up next month or 2 months from now or this year.
So as I mentioned before, we have a really exciting project coming. I think in September it will be.
September.
Yes, and
Okay.
we're going to obviously do a big rollout and a big announce near the time.
Hmm.
And we think it will be the first project of its kind when it comes out. So look forward to that. Don't know if you want to mention some other bits and pieces, Chris.
I think that was a great prelude to it. But yeah, so follow us on socials, follow Dani. He's always posting some really cool stuff about the industry on his LinkedIn. And so we've got that project coming out, which is tied to an artist. Again, like we're really, it's really important to us to be tied to the artist community and have our ear right to it. And yeah, be part of our community, be part of our testing group as we release our tech to consumers So any artist or musician could also do what we do. Right now, only we can do it. Our team can do these projects, but we want to open that up to artists to be able to do it. So please sign up for our workbench. It's on the website again. Just sign up there and be part of the testing community. And yeah, we would love to hear from everyone. What do they think? What is their most important needs and problems that we can help them with?
Amazing. Does LifeScore Music also looking for investors, or you guys close the rounds that say you got plenty of money, you don't need any investors, or you're looking for investors?
We are always happy to have these conversations. So whoever wants to talk to us, happy to have these conversations.
Yes. Well, yes, they got my vote, definitely. If you want to invest in LifeScore Music. This is the future. I have, hands down, this is the future. I'm all in for it, definitely. Well, first, I want to thank you for joining us, Chris Walch and Dani Sawyerr. Amazing, innovative people. Definitely, they're in the right place, at the right company, with the right ideas. LifeScore Music, we keep mentioning it. This concludes today's episode at Soundbreaker. Please make sure to follow us on socials, and stay tuned for new episode and more innovative people in the future. Definitely. See you, and thank you very much. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.